You never think this stuff is going to happen so close to home, but it just goes to show you just how unexpected things can be.
World Health Organization estimates that 30% of women worldwide have been victims of domestic abuse in their lifetime. If we look at the United States, the numbers are staggering. Statistics show that 10 million women and men are abused by their partners every year. Unfortunately, 24-year-old Irene Torres from Nashville was one of them. The majority of domestic violence victims don't want to talk about it and keep to themselves, usually hiding bruises and marks on their bodies. Irene Torres was brave enough to speak to her family about the abuse she endured for months, and they offered her a safe space when she decided to leave the relationship. She did so in late December of 2022. Tragically, her life would be cut short exactly 1 month later.
A 24-year-old woman was stabbed to death early Sunday morning. Her body was later found in a plastic container. An ex-boyfriend is now charged.
Irene Michaela Torres was born in 1998 in Tampa Bay, Florida. She spent her childhood in the Sunshine State before moving to Nashville, Tennessee with her family. According to her friends, Torres was optimistic, funny, and outgoing.
I wouldn't say she was like a jokester funny. It was just funny because she was just so like innocent. She was just like that innocent person that like it was just fun to be around. She brought up the room.
She loved traveling, especially to her home state, which she frequently visited, hanging out with her friends and watching Star Wars movies. Feeling nostalgic, she moved back to Florida for a few months, where she worked at Hell and Blazes Brewing Company. After returning to Nashville, Torres found work at a bar located on Broadway. There, she met 28-year-old Dwayne Herelle Jr. in the summer of 2022. Herelle Jr. was a security guard and an amateur MMA fighter. A Nashville native, Herelle Jr. enjoyed training in the gym and had 2 professional MMA fights under his belt, both resulting in losses. Torres and Herelle Jr. started dating in August of 2022, and the relationship seemed perfect at first. The couple shared many photos of them on social media, and it looked like they had a lot of fun on their dates. Torres and Herelle Jr. saw each other often because they worked at the same bar and would spend all their free time together. But when Torres moved in with Herelle Jr., her family stated the relationship took a darker turn. Those closest to Torres confirmed she confided in them that Herelle Jr. was controlling and obsessive in the beginning. Then he became verbally and physically abusive.
It blows my mind because I never, ever would expect anything like this from Dwayne. He's just such a nice person. He would always go out of his way to help people.
Torres was terrified of her boyfriend and lived in a state of fear for months. After learning what was happening to her, Torres' family encouraged the young woman to leave Herelle Jr. On December 29, 2022, Torres finally mustered up the courage to pack her things and move to her family home in Old Hickory, while Herelle Jr. was at work. According to her sister Raina, Torres knocked on the door in the middle of the night. Of course, her loved ones were proud of Torres and welcomed the young woman with open arms, ready to give her all the support she needed. Torres still had to see Herelle Jr. in the bar where they both worked, but she felt safe because he wouldn't hurt her in public. She celebrated the new year with her family and hoped 2023 would be a beginning of a new chapter in her life. Unfortunately, Herelle Jr. wasn't ready to move on and let Torres go. In January 2023, he allegedly started stalking Torres by driving by her family's house. The former pair seemed fine at work, but the rage inside Herelle Jr. was boiling. Torres did absolutely everything right. She escaped her abusive partner and was looking forward to her future, but her abuser had different plans. On January 28, 2023, Torres worked the night shift at the bar and was supposed to return to her family house in Old Hickory in the early hours of Sunday, January 29th. When Torres' parents got up in the morning, they realized she wasn't home. Fearing something might have happened to their daughter, they called her phone repeatedly but got no answer. The parents knew what she went through months before and suspected Herelle Jr. knew where she was. Thinking the security cameras could tell them if she even arrived home from work, Torres' dad checked the footage and saw something disturbing. The camera captured Torres parking in the driveway at around 1:30 a.m. Herelle Jr. appeared on the screen, and he dragged the young woman from the frame. Her screams could be heard in the background.
It's amazing how people can, look you in your eyes, be a nice person, and then turn around and be something else behind closed doors.
Now certain that Herelle Jr. was involved in Torres's disappearance, her father drove to his place in Bellevue to talk to him. As expected, Herelle Jr. claimed he hadn't seen Torres since Friday, January 27th, but then he learned that he was seen on the surveillance camera in front of the Torres family home. The man then said the two left in his car and that Torres decided to rent a room at a hotel downtown. He agreed to take her father there because he allegedly drove her to Nashville several hours earlier. While the two were on their way to the hotel, Herelle Jr. realized he couldn't lie anymore because Torres wasn't there. He confessed to stabbing Torres, and her father went to the police with this information. He was secretly recording their conversation on his phone. The Torres family contacted Metro Nashville Police Department, who dispatched a unit to Herelle Jr.'s home in Bellevue. Soon after, they would make a horrific discovery. On the afternoon of January 29, 2023, the police entered Herelle Jr.'s apartment and began looking for Torres's body. An officer discovered a storage bin in the closet, and the young woman was stuffed inside it, her body wrapped in a comforter.
It almost doesn't even seem real at this point. It's just, we're all devastated here, because she had such a bright future for such a young, positive person that it's just ridiculous.
Herelle Jr. was arrested on the spot and taken to the police station. Derry Baltimore, the lead detective on this case, talked to Herelle Jr. and learned what had happened earlier that morning. Herelle Jr. said he waited outside the Torres family home for his ex-girlfriend to return from her shift. Since the two worked at the same bar, he knew her schedule. Once Torres parked her car, Herelle Jr. snuck up and scared her. He said the two began arguing, and he snapped. Herelle Jr. stabbed Torres, dragged her to the trunk of his car, and then drove straight home. Hoping to conceal his crime, Herelle Jr. hid Torres's body in his closet.
Neil, detectives say this started as an argument and then turned deadly. Now 28-year-old Dwayne Herelle Jr. is charged with criminal homicide.
Before arriving in Bellevue, Herelle Jr. stopped behind a grocery store and threw Torres's purse and bloody pants into a trash bin. He claimed the police would find the murder weapon there as well. Police searched the trash bin and found items belonging to Torres. However, they were unable to locate the knife used in this murder, which meant Herelle Jr. lied to them. Detective Baltimore later said the autopsy confirmed Torres was stabbed 17 times, and the medical examiner found defensive wounds on her hands, meaning she tried to fight her attacker.
I was told while I was standing there with the doctor that she was stabbed in excess of 17 times.
The young woman was stabbed in front of her house, while Herelle Jr. was dragging her to his car. Herelle Jr. was held in custody without a bond, and his preliminary hearing was scheduled for February 15, 2023. Dwayne Herelle Jr. appeared in court in February 2023. The courtroom was packed with Irene Torres' friends and co-workers who were there to support her parents and siblings. Detective Baltimore testified and told the judge the details of the crime discovered during the investigation. He described the autopsy findings and mentioned the defensive wounds on Torres' arms. The surveillance video from the morning of January 29, 2023 was shown in the courtroom, and it was hard to sit through the screams and cries recorded on it. Despite everything, Herelle Jr. showed no emotions and stayed calm during the hearing. He didn't even glance at Torres' loved ones. Herelle Jr. was charged with criminal homicide and is currently held at Downtown Detention Center in Nashville. The date of his trial is unknown at the moment, but Herelle Jr. will appear in front of the grand jury by the end of 2023. Irene Torres' friends were stunned when the news of her brutal murder reached them. Her older sister, Raina Douglas, set up a GoFundMe page to raise money for Irene's memorial service. She made a heart-wrenching post describing everything her sister went through during her relationship with Herelle Jr. and how she managed to escape him. Raina revealed she didn't believe the two had an argument before he murdered her sister. Instead, she is sure he attacked her right away and dragged Irene away from the surveillance camera. Even though Irene Torres left her abuser, she was unable to escape the fate of many domestic abuse victims. She was an amazing young woman with a bright future ahead of her, and Herelle Jr. took that away. The community gave its full support, and the fundraiser reached its goal quickly. Raina made a post on the website on March 1st, 2023, and said the memorial service was beautiful. As promised, the family donated $3,059.58 to the Tennessee Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence.